Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Like I've stated before, starting this week, I'm only going to be doing public analysis on Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube. For the rest of the time, Mondays through Fridays, my Advantage members get all the analysis right here. This is our Cryptosomniac community if you're not familiar with it. It's a Discord channel. If you're not familiar with Discord, it's basically a big chat room, but a little bit more organized. We have a lot of organization in terms of our channels, different areas that you could look into where I post things. So for example, over here, if people have questions about how specific altcoins are doing, I answer questions about that based on technicals, based on fundamental drivers, whatever is happening with that specific pair, okay? Over here, we provide trade setups, which is just, as you can see right there, last few days, I found this nice setup, right, at 11,200, found a nice bounce. And I think I mentioned this last week, even for our other free lounge members. And there's tons of other trade setups in here as well. Over here, there's long-term, medium-term, and short-term channels. Can't show you those because that's privy information to the Advantage program members. All right. And then over here, I provide open positions that I currently may have, where I'm targeting for my profits, where I'm placing my stops, etc. Okay. And this is really where all the magic happens, where this is our trading community. All the general chat and conversations happen here, as you can see. People from all parts of the world are in here, from New Zealand and Ireland and England and South Africa. I already said New Zealand, Australia, Canada, America, Mexico, people from all walks of life as well. All right. So if you're interested and you don't know exactly how to trade, what kind of community to join to understand exactly what to do in this market, come join us. All right. Okay, so with that being said, let's go to the analysis. All right, so yesterday, again, I pointed out to my Advantage members that more than likely we're going to be slowly grinding down in this descending parallel channel. Now, when people ask me that, well, you've drawn something like this, does this mean that you're now bearish? No, not at all. Okay, one thing that this signifies is that this is what's happening on the shorter time frames. Yeah, we could pull back a little bit more, but then still bounce up, because remember that when you look at charts, everything is in context with what time frame you're on. Okay, whatever you're looking at, whatever patterns, wherever your indicators are, everything is in relation to that specific time frame. So in this specific time frame, we are retracing a little bit in this parallel channel. If you actually look at that parallel channel in context of this is a big bull flag. Okay, so you could see how context is everything, right? If I zoom in like this and I only show you this part of the chart, all you could see is we're going down. So when you zoom out, you get to see the full picture that this could be a bull flag. So the lesson is, when in doubt, zoom out or pick higher time frames. All right, so here's another higher time frame that I want you guys to look at. This is the daily chart. And again, I'm picking Bybit because I like to pick up different exchanges in terms of charting, because it gives us a more complete picture of exactly where different exchanges are finding support and resistance levels, so we could get a better average. While Bybit has the middle Bollinger Band right here around 10,760 or so, Bitfinex may have it at 10,800. Binance may have it at 10,750. So we get an average, right around 10,765 or 770, right? So that gives us an idea of where we could potentially place orders on not only that specific exchange, but maybe just a roundabout figure where we could figure out this is where most support and resistance levels lie on most exchanges. All right, so it's important to do that. Again, so Bollinger Bands on the daily chart, as you can see, right? You could see right here we've been sort of retracing sideways for almost over a month now, close to a month and a half, and typically the middle Bollinger Band is really where prices like to bounce off of support and resistance and then move on up and then hit the top of the Bollinger Band and then pull back down. Bollinger Bands are nothing but the idea of volatility and boundaries of that volatility that these bands create. The middle band itself is really, that middle volatility band. So you would figure that at the very least, most times you could see right here, that's a stop right there. Stop, stop. So basically on the middle band right here, multiple times it was used as support, support, and then resistance, and then resistance. Even over here, bled through the support with a wick, but candle still closed above it, right? Support, support right there as well. Bled through a little bit, and then boom, came back down. Hit resistance at that middle Bollinger Band, and then came back down again. And now it's breaking through. So if we were to say that, if we were to place bets where price would potentially bounce off of, I would say that it's this middle Bollinger Band. Currently, that's hovering around, 10,750 or so. Let's just say 10,800 in the next, 1 day or so, right? So that would be an area where price could potentially pull back and then bounce up and away from, okay? Now, how does that line up with other things in context? All right, so let me show you guys. I'm going to pull this back on the 4 hour. All right. Also, you can use, again, Bollinger Bands on 4 hour time frame as well. You can see right here, the 4 hour time frame was actually perfect in measuring out the fact that price hit that middle Bollinger Band and then came back down again. Okay, it was very perfectly, timed in terms of how this Bollinger Band has helped move price up and down within the confines of these bands, right? Okay, so I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to get a little bit more complicated in terms of my chart. Okay, so if you look over here, right, let me see if first I can show you the larger count at play. Okay, oops, that's the euro. No one cares about the euro, right? Just kidding. All right. I think it should be this chart right here. Okay, so here's the larger count at play. Okay, and I'm going to bring my other chart back over here, which is the Bybit chart. Okay, so here's the larger count. 1, 2, big 3, 4 right here, and 5. Okay, so we could be finishing off that 4. Now, I was hoping that the 4 would be at the top of this white marker right here. Why? Because that white marker is really the high of this wick right here, where we previously faced resistance in this area, but then finally broke on through. Okay, but it could be very possible that we could dig in some wicks a little bit deeper right here, but not too deep, right? Maybe 10,900, 10,800 at most. Okay, so remember that number. All right, 10,900 or 10,800 at most. Okay, so now if we look over here, all right, so ignore the black count right here, this big one. But within that, you'll see a bunch of other counts. Okay, so I'm going to go through each one for you. I'm going to explain how each one comes about. So remember that in this third wave, which is the black count right there, there's a mini white count, right? So in each larger degree wave, there's also smaller degree subwaves. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once this 5 ends, all right, after the 5, remember, it's something called a 5-3 count in Elliott waves. So 5-3 meaning 1, 2, which is the B right there, and C right there. The C is the count right there. All right. So if we were to mark out that C, okay, so the C could stretch down towards that 10,800, 10,900, which lines up with this area right here. Remember, that's the area that we spoke about, which is again over here. This area that was prior resistance in middle of July right here. And then just last week, we broke through this area, right, as resistance and pushed through it. Okay, so I would expect prices to land somewhere around here, which is again around 10.8, 10.9 or so. All right, so we need to keep that level in mind. So you can see right there, this C wave could finish off right around that particular area. So I'm going to mark that out with just this horizontal line or something, okay? All right, so we'll mark it out 10,867 or so. You can see that that touches this resistance, basically touches this resistance and this resistance. Okay, so that'd be a perfect C wave correction, and then typically after that, what you have is then a subsequent, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movement out. Now, I don't personally think that we are done with that C wave. I was hoping we were done when we hit this marker over here, but clearly prices seem to be wanting to travel even lower, right? Because we're stuck in the middle of this parallel channel that I showed you just earlier, right? This little parallel channel, as you can see, okay? So this parallel channel is exactly this one right here, this black one, okay? And more importantly, if I get rid of this, okay, this blue channel right here is a large trading range that's happening, right? Meaning that from this high to this low right here, all we're really doing is moving up and down in it. But the fact that we've sort of just stayed at the bottom of the trading range makes me believe that we're moving rather in this descending parallel channel, and we could hit the bottom of this channel basically today or over the next few hours, straight down, hit the support, as you can see, the sideways horizontal black line, and then push on up. And you can see how that maps out perfectly, because if we went straight down to in this very 4-hour candle in the next 37 minutes, or even the next one, notice how not only does it break through this blue trading range, but it bounces off the bottom of this parallel channel, which is this and this, and it hits this previous resistance right here, which is this resistance and this resistance and this resistance, turn it into support, and then move away. That would be the perfect way, I would say, that price could essentially come down into that area, right? Kind of like this, hit this, and then take off. This would catch everyone by surprise, because I bet what people are waiting for is really that, where was it? They were only waiting for, this white marker that everyone's watching. They think that only this wick is going to be tapped and then we're going to keep on moving up. Well, typically the markets are all about surprising the most amount of people and the people who know the least, right? So if I were a betting man, I would say that this drop all the way to 10,800, maybe even 10,750, would surprise everyone and scare everyone's pants off, and then market would push off. Okay, now I guess you can make another argument that what if we just went down here to this previous resistance. Okay, so let me show you that in a cleaner chart. All right, now this one is something that I've been thinking about, but then that invalidates our 5-wave move. Okay, so aside from this resistance and this resistance and this, there's another little area. Okay, so I'm going to mark these out with these little boxes. Okay, so this is really where that resistance is coming from, right? There's another little area right here, okay, where price had essentially hit this area right there. That's another little resistance area. Okay, so keep in mind that if price does break through here, it's highly likely that it'll come down here, which is about 10,400 all the way to about 10,150. Now the reason I don't like this box is because our count, which is this big black Elliott wave count right here, okay, which is the primary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that would mean that this fourth wave then comes down here, which is not possible because Elliott wave trading rules are that the 4 wave cannot go deeper than the 1 wave. Okay, so that's why this count basically has to stop somewhere around here and just wick right here and then take off. okay? Because wicks don't really matter a whole lot, you know, when you're counting the Elliott waves. I mean, yes, they do, but I'm okay with, you know, counting a one-off wick that really just sharply comes down here, and then still count this as a big 5-wave count. And then that 5th wave kind of takes us up higher towards 13.7 or 13.9, whatever the higher targets may be. Okay? Or it could be very likely that, hey, this is it. 11,275 is where we are. From here, we're just going to bounce on up. But the chances of that happening right now are a bit slim because we haven't quite shown any strength coming out of it. You can see the RSI on the 4 hour still has a lot of room to the downside. The 1 hour, I think, is hitting oversold levels, right? So it just hit oversold maybe just an hour or two ago. All right. So it's finally bouncing, but nothing really in terms of strength. Okay. All these wicks that you see are clearly showing you that there was previous support, but now that support has been broken, and this area could turn resistance. Anywhere between 11.3 and 11.5 is now resistance. Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to talk about that. So I know I'm sort of explaining things to you in a very complex way right here in terms of the counts, but all you have to do is pay attention to what I showed you earlier, which is this, you know, larger primary count in the black, then this mini count right here, which is the 5 waves in the 3 wave right here, and then 1, 2, 3 down, and then hopefully we're starting our next 5 up. But that next 5 up may not happen until prices finally touch to maybe, you know, the 10,800 level or 10,750 or something. Okay. All right. Okay. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about is altcoins, but I'll get to that in a second. Let me first go back over here to the weekly chart. Okay. Let's go to candles. Now remember that the weekly just started 2 days ago. Okay, so every time we've come to this level, this 11,500 level, we haven't been able to close candles above it. This one slightly did, but again, not the best candle, right? It would have been really great if it closed at 12,000, because that's making a statement. But this right here tells me that every time we've reached up here, right, we've had significant pullback on candle retracement. So it could be very possible that we pull back maybe a little bit deeper, like I said, in 10,700, and then still keep on moving up in the middle of this week itself, this weekly candle, right? Or it could be next week. I mean, I honestly don't know. It's hard to predict right now, right? But for the most part, I'm still fairly confident that this white box is getting weaker in terms of resistance. Why? Because we just had 5-6 weeks ago, we had this big upward facing wick candle right here, slightly follow up bullish, but then very big bearish candle, and then even weaker bullish candle, strongly bearish candle, and then a big follow up bullish engulfing. Right? So this bullish engulfing right here, okay, is the story that prices were much too low for the real bulls who are picking up everything, okay? This area right here was much too low. So in that regard, they pushed the prices up higher and then even higher. However, they couldn't get past the resistance that the bears are holding down the price right around 11.5, 11.6. Even if the price wicks to this level, that's not really making a statement that the weekly closed there. The true statement is made when the weekly is closed higher up here, okay? Which it hasn't yet. So that means that we could be doing something like this, where we went up like this, came back, went up like this, maybe a higher low like this, and then break on through, right? So patience is the name of the game in terms of this area right here. So now you understand how it's both possible to be slightly bearish in terms of, you know, the 4 hour chart, but still be bullish on the 1 week time frame. And even if we look at the monthly looks great too, right? If this is the monthly, I'll take this any day. Okay, this is a fantastic monthly. And if we actually draw a trend line right here, let me see if I can draw that kind of like this. Okay, so let's make that a bit bigger. And then something like this. This is really a big bull pennant, right? This is the bull flag right here on the monthly, and this is your pennant being created. This is a fantastic sign, I would say, in terms of a bullish monthly chart. I don't know how much more bullish you can get than that. So it could be very possible that we end this month as is, or even the following month, which would be the September month, we have maybe a small candle like this one right here over here, showing you the end of that pennant, and then finally we break on through in October and November. All right, so the point is that you're going to have to sort of grind it out for the next couple months, because it could get a little boring. It could be a lot of sideways movement. I mean, I personally don't think so, because Bitcoin has rarely had like a bull flag in terms of monthly candles like that, not since maybe way back here in 2016, right? So for the most part, the bulls and the bears really just fight it out, get it over in like a month, maybe two at most. So I'm really reluctant on that kind of flag, but it is possible, right? So it's just something that you want to keep in mind. All right, so now going to the altcoins. Okay, so first things first, I want to show you guys something, which is ETH BTC. Actually, ETH BTC, maybe Coinbase, better chart. Okay, so here is Ethereum BTC. All right, this is the ETH BTC chart. Notice how ETH has now come down to this level, and prices could be dipping to a critical area of a critical support, which is way down here. This was all support right here, and this is all resistance. So I'm saying that this red block right here is really big, critical support for ETH BTC. So that's from current prices, that's another 20% drop, all right, in Ethereum to BTC pair. Now it could be possible that ETH US dollar could be moving up, but not in relation to how the ETH BTC chart is moving, right? And also in something like this, you can make the argument that this is a big sort of parallel channel that's at play. Okay. Probably have to draw it something like that. I would say that's probably something that's at play in terms of Ethereum. Okay. And in that, you can make the argument that there's probably something like this happening. Here's 1, 2, big 3, 4, and then fifth one might be coming up here. Okay, all the way to about, I mean, it could be arguable that we could get up all the way to about 500 or 600, but I would say this area right here is probably a bit safer, like 500 or so. Okay. I mean, in terms of Elliott waves, like it's actually got to be much higher, because between the 3 and the 4 retracement, the 5 is typically like, I don't know, if this is the 3, this is the 4, right? The 5 should be about at least, let's see, a 1 point, could be a 1.618 or 1.272 or 1.414. Okay, so it should be anywhere between these three right here. So it could be 400, 420, or above 450. So that's not actually, no, that's pretty spot on. Okay, I could see how that works. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. So about 450 to 500, I would say, is really the next stop for ETH if this is truly the fourth wave. All right, so just something interesting to keep in mind. Okay. Now another thing that I want to point out is LTC BTC. Now remember these charts that I'm showing you, because they're going to be important when I talk about the altcoins versus Bitcoin. Okay. So we just saw ETH. And here's LTC. Okay, LTC is also coming down to a very critical level right here. I don't know what else is in the way between this area right here and this. I mean, I personally don't see anything. I guess you could make the argument that this area right here is support, but I wouldn't say so. This is just a random one-off wick. So from there, it's also very possible that LTC could drop another 50-60% in terms of its BTC pair value. I personally don't think so. I think LTC could drop at most at the bottom of this area right here. So from here to here, that's another 10% drop. So LTC is closer to bottoming in terms of its BTC pair than Ethereum is, right? Now here is a look at XRP, which is right here. So XRP, same thing, right? We're over here. No real support. This is no man's land other than this bottom red right here, which again from here down is another 40 to 50% or 45% drop, let's just say, right? So XRP even has a bit of a downside to go. So it could be very possible that again, as BTC rips up in terms of US dollar value, XRP does not do anything. Okay, or rather it loses more BTC value because again, more players in the market are attracted to Bitcoin. Okay, or there could be honestly a very big surge into Bitcoin and not altcoins just yet. And this area could all be accumulation for larger whales or professionals to be acquiring as much maybe altcoins for the next potential alt run. But it's not happening anytime soon, as you can see, right? So the point is that some of those coins that you just saw, okay, here's the others.d chart, which is the altcoin dominance, okay, without Bitcoin, right? So I'm going to make this into a line chart. Notice this is where we are, and this is really the last remaining sort of, big support level in terms of altcoins. Okay, so from there, if we just drop straight down, again, that's another 30% drop or so. Okay, so if altcoin market cap drops by 30%, okay, they will essentially lose their dominance by that much as well, right? So that means that some of that dominance, or most of it rather, will go into Bitcoin. Okay, so here's BTC.D. Notice that we're already at 69 points. The last time pre-altcoin run, Bitcoin was at 75%. Okay, so from here up, all the way up here, that's another 8% movement in terms of Bitcoin dominance level. So that others.d chart that you just saw, which was about to lose another 2 or 3% in terms of market cap, that could flow into BTC, push BTC at this big ICO mania that happened in 2017. As you can see the date right there, right? July 2017. This is where the Bitcoin dominance dropped sharply, right? Because people kept going into Ethereum or other altcoins and giving their money there due to greed. And I would not be surprised if something like that happens here as well over the coming, month or two. I definitely cannot count out alt season. I have never counted out alt season. I'm just saying that it may not happen at the same magnitude, and it may not happen to the same altcoins. Okay, I don't know if the rising tide will lift all boats. It may be very few boats. And those very few boats might be bigger projects like Ethereum or Litecoin, BNB, Bcash, EOS, maybe even Tron. I don't know. It could be high market cap coins, right? But it's just a possibility. So I want you guys to keep this in mind because I still do believe that there will be an alt season. Why? Because that's just human psychology, folks. That's where you can squeeze the most amount of dollars out of the most amount of retailers. You not only force them to give up Bitcoin, but you get them into a market that has a ton of greed. while the whales have essentially collected as much of XRP and all these other shitcoins out there, and then they sell them to the retailers at a higher price. And then once those altcoins collapse, people will be forced into BTC. And again, Bitcoin is mostly, held by professionals. So they'll sell it back to the retailers again at a higher price. So it's a win-win both ways for the professionals and a loss-loss both ways for the retailers, unless you play it smart. Okay? And playing it smart is, in my opinion for now, sticking mostly to BTC or trying to grow your BTC value, not worrying too much about altcoins unless you can wait out another 20-30% drop in terms of your altcoins that you're holding. And maybe, who knows, if I'm wrong, the alt season may not even happen. Only, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum in the top 10 market cap coins take off in the next alt run. It's very possible, right? So you have to be able to hedge your bets and try to understand that, it is very possible that alt season can happen, but it doesn't have to happen to your coins, okay? So we talked about the weekly chart, we talked about the smaller time frames, we talked about potential areas for BTC to dropping through. Yesterday I had even drawn up this little, sort of stair-stepping ascending trend line right here, as you can see. Price broke through that. Again, another dissatisfying sort of movement. Price is essentially also sort of going down like this in this area right here in terms of this trend line. I guess you can make the argument that it's also going down like this, like that. So it's more of like a fan trend line off this trend line. Typically when this happens, these steeper trend lines, it's more of like a aggressive bearish or bullish movement because the angles get steeper. Okay, so as you can see, regardless, prices are potentially looking a bit weaker in this area. And I wouldn't be surprised if, this area sort of breaks sooner rather than later. Okay, so I'm hoping we just get it over with in this red box. Worst case scenario, like I said, we could go all the way down here, which I really am not looking forward to because we did establish this, red box basically as resistance, and we did establish it support right here, which is the top. But who knows, we may need to dig in a bit deeper in terms of liquidity. Do a quick liquidity grab from here, maybe just a bit deeper, and then push off. Right? So it could be very possible to catch everyone by surprise just down here and think that we're going to go lower, but what we're really doing is just grabbing everyone's stops, forcing everyone to sell into the professionals' buys, and then push. Okay. I feel like I've gone through a lot. Oh, actually, there's one more thing that I did want to discuss. Again, folks, come join our Cryptosomniac community. If you just go to cryptosomniac.com and you don't understand some of the technicals I'm talking about, you can go here and then the products page and hit my technical analysis course where you can learn about everything that I'm talking about and more, and learn about the market psychology that I keep mentioning, right? Or Cryptosomniac Advantage program, which gives you access to our channels, all the locked channels that you see right here. Okay. So anyway, another thing that I want to talk about is that this was mentioned just yesterday or 2 days ago about Goldman Sachs putting out, targets in terms of what could be happening to Bitcoin. I actually first thought this was fake, but then I confirmed that this is real. One of the head of securities divisions there, Shiba Jafari, actually drew out this chart. She's a big Elliott wave fundamentalist, so I do really respect her. So this is really the count that she has, and as you can see, it makes sense that the next target that she's going for is about 13,900, which was this previous high that we had all the way up here. Okay, so it does make sense that that would be one of the targets. If we get up to 13,900, I have no doubt in my mind that we can get up to 14,000 and then 16 and then 19 over time. Okay, because 13.8 is really the big resistance area in my opinion. All right. Okay, so anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up. Maybe this is one last thing that I want to talk about. People keep looking at my charts and they think that, okay, how do they sort of come up with these patterns, or what can they do on their end to make these charts, and how can they become better traders? So here's one way, okay? Here's how I've sort of written down the different tools and indicators that I use personally when I'm looking at price, okay, when I'm looking at technicals. First things first, always raw price action, okay? Meaning that you don't need to look at anything other than this raw chart itself. No volume, no indicators, no RSI, no nothing. Okay, just look at the chart and see what's happening on different time frames, okay? You can even just, hide all the drawing tools and just look at this. And if you can look at this and say, okay, overall it seems like things are going up, okay? That's all you need to know, all right? Then you can start laying down moving averages on top of it, horizontal support and horizontal support lines, trend lines, and obviously then you can start understanding candlestick patterns, like this being a potential hammer right here. I don't know, these two potentially being tweezer bottoms. This is a potential indecision doji right here. This is a indecision doji. This is sort of a 3 candle, turnaround correction right here. This is, well, let's see. This is a bearish engulfing right here. This is a bullish engulfing. Anyway, you get the point that understanding candlestick patterns is going to be useful, right? And then you can start making patterns within the price action, which was, like I showed you earlier, which is this, right? You can start making parallel channels, trend lines, triangles, symmetrical triangles, flags, that kind of stuff, right? And then obviously volume is, all this is primary. Okay, so if I were you, I would stick to the primary. If you know these, you don't need anything down here. Maybe you do need the moving averages, but aside from the primary, you really don't need a whole lot. Okay, so you stick to those, and I promise you, you'll not panic or FOMO as easily. You'll also start to gain an understanding of exactly how the markets move without having to rely on an indicator, a random indicator that people keep telling you that, hey, here's a great buy or sell signal that this thing gives you. There's no way, okay? There's no such thing like that, all right? Remember that every single indicator, every single tool, and everything that you see is derived off this, the candlesticks individually. Each one of these candlesticks are representative of each buyer and seller coming to an agreement at that price. So you have to understand the context of these candlesticks as a whole to understand where the price is being driven up to, okay? Driven up to or driven down to. And once you start to understand what the bigger play is, then it becomes a lot easier for you to make trades or not make trades, to either long or short. All right. Let me see if I have anything else to talk about. I think that wraps it up, folks. I talked about the tools that I wanted, or that I use. I talked about our Cryptosomniac Advantage program. I talked about the altcoins dominance, the Bitcoin dominance, how Ethereum and Litecoin and XRP are coming down to critical lows, basically the pre-2017 hype levels, right? Talked about Bitcoin in terms of different time frames where it could potentially bounce off of. If you do want to mark this out, like I said, 10,750 to 760 or so would be the low, and the high could bounce, right around 10,900, 10,850 or so. All right. I guess it could bounce all the way down here, but like I said, that would basically invalidate our count, which would be this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this 5, because then this 4 would go way down here, which doesn't make any sense because it's lower than the 1. All right. So you want to keep it somewhere around here, hopefully. Okay. At most, I hope we just wick and then take off. Okay, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoy this analysis. Give me a thumbs up. And again, only Tuesdays and Thursdays is public analysis. And if you want everyday analysis with multiple updates, as you can see right here in Bitcoin analysis. We have multiple updates that I provide to my community members every single day. Or you want trade setups and the things that I'm doing, whether it's longing or shorting, what coins I'm picking up at what point, what targets am I profiting at, where my stops are, how to short the market, or just a big community where you can chat and bounce ideas off of. Come join Cryptosomniac Advantage, and I will see you guys soon, I hope. All right, take care, cheers, and until then, I'll see you next Thursday. Unless you join Advantage, then I'll just see you tomorrow. All right, have a good one.